curiosity, with the growth of this organization, going back to the World Series of Fighting to now, what does this Ray Sefo say to that Ray Sefo?
Wow, that's a good question.
Thanks.
Well, the funny thing is, a lot of you guys don't know, but this format was actually originally for WSOF. Hence the reason why I came up with the name Wizards of Fighting, because I was watching Wizards of Poker.
Really?
And as soon as I saw that, I went, that's the name of the league. Unfortunately, due to certain things that happened, it didn't turn out to be the league, but thank God now the league has been, been around for 6 years now.
Now, as a promoter, for you personally, is it better to have a main event, a co-main event, any fight down the line, where two fighters just have visceral hatred towards each other? Or would you rather go the quiet, respectful route?
You see, when you look at the season itself, there's really no main event, co-main event. There is, even though that's kind of like the old format, right? But if you look at the regular season, every fight matters. And then those guys qualify into the playoffs, every fight matters. They still got to fight to get to the championship. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So even though we have showcase fights and, obviously not only to see talent, but also to build other talent, the old format of what TV is, there's a co-main and main. But the format of what the season is, every fight matters. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and move on to the next question. Sorry, we just got a lot to get through. My apologies. Next. Anyone?
I'll come over here. Ray, what do you feel like is the next step to take PFL to the next level from where you're at right now?
Well, I mean, just continuing to do what we're doing and continue to grow. Obviously, there's a few things that is in the works that would be soon announced. I can't go into it right now because of certain reasons, but for example, you guys have heard, we have PFL MENA, which covers the rest of the Middle East. We have PFL Africa that we're looking to start next year, 2024. PFL Oceania, which is Australia and New Zealand, that's in the works. So there's a lot of things that's moving forward. I think once all that is in place, it will just allow us to continue to grow. We're already in 150 to 160 countries around the world. So, I mean, that's growing.
Yeah.
Right?
How do you feel about tonight's event?
I thought tonight, it was a slow start, but I think everybody showed up, especially in the playoffs fights. Those guys really needed to, earn their ticket and kick their ticket into the championship, and I think they did that tonight.
For sure.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going? With the success of PFL Europe, the recent shows that you guys just put on, is there any chance in the future that we see PFL and PFL Europe kind of coming together to merge rosters at all? Or?
PFL Europe and PFL what? You mean PFL Global? Okay. So the purpose of all these other regions is so that it's number one, the championship, the champion that comes out of Europe. If that guy is good enough to fight in the PFL Global, then they earn that ticket to get into PFL Global. Of course, it's still new. PFL Europe, there's still guys that we're still trying to build into that season format. But that's, again, just like anything, it's going to take time, and with time, we'll continue to grow.
And do we have any information on where the finals are going to be yet, or no?
It's not 100% confirmed. It's in the works, but I'm thinking that we should know 100% by the last PFL, the last playoffs.
Last question for me. Can I just get your thoughts on this upcoming card on Wednesday? And that's a big one. I want to see where your head's after that.
No. I mean, I think that card, if the card lives up to the fights that's already on that card, then it's going to probably be the best card for the playoffs so far. That being said, the one last week or a week and a half ago, we had 10 fights and 7 finishes. I mean, everybody's, came to fight. Everybody came to earn continue to go to the championship. So I think, you know, tonight kind of kicked up a little bit slow, but it picked up. And then I think next week is going to be fireworks as well.
Hey Ray, congrats on another great event.
Thank you.
Nathan Kelly kicked off the main card, put forth a great performance over a game opponent Damian Nelson, 8-0 or 8-5 win streak, 3-0 in PFL. Are you expecting big things from this kid?
Yeah, you know, Nathan Kelly is a kid that we're still building. I think he most likely, when I look at it, I think he most likely go to PFL Europe next year and gain more experience. Because when you look at guys that made the playoffs, everybody's had 20+ fights. You know, he's still what 7-2 now, or 8-2 now. So I'd like to see him do another year of just building. So another 3 fights, and I think he'll be great.
And someone here asked a good question earlier to Pacheco about where she ranks herself or where she fits into that greatest women's fighter of all time or greatest women's fighter currently. Do you think with another $1 million and a belt at the end of this season, she's in that conversation, maybe at the top for best female fighter in the world?
I don't want to disrespect any of the other great ladies that would, you know, that have been and gone, right? That being said, she's definitely working her way up to that. I mean, I think after winning the last championship and beating Kayla, that put her there, but she needs to kind of, again, probably win this championship and get another season in the bout, and I think she'll be, you know, one of the greats.
PFL Championships, west side of the Mississippi, east side of the Mississippi. What are we thinking?
Say that again?
The PFL Championships, are we going to be on the west side of the Mississippi come November, or are we going to be on the east side of the Mississippi River?
It's right smack bang in the center.
On the river? Thank you, man.
Right, back here. Couple of things, fights upcoming and fighters you're going to have involved next year. What's the confidence level for this Ngannou and Fury fight? You guys think you're going to be promoting the lineal boxing heavyweight champion of the world come next year?
That's a good question. I don't know. I couldn't give you the answer to that yet, but it's possible, right?
And then, of course, you know, Jake had a good win the day after your last show, and it looks like he's pushing to get this Nate Diaz fight over in the PFL. You guys interested in that? Looks like there's a $10 million offer is what he says on the day.
Yeah, 100%. We're definitely interested. You know, Jake throws things out there and lives up to it every single time. So we'll see. You know, once he's taking some time off, and I think talk to our team, and we'll go from there.
Nate seems pretty keen on it.
Say again?
Nate seems like he might be interested.
Of course he should. He should be. I mean, that's stepping into his world, right?
Ray. Speaking of Kayla Harrison, any talks of her about maybe coming back for next year, or any sort of update? Because she's been kind of quiet publicly since she lost last year.
Yeah, I'm told that she's definitely interested in coming back next year, but she does have a fight in the championship, I believe, which I think we'll be able to finalize that within within this week to 2 weeks. But yeah, she's definitely interested.
Ray, Anik Subramanian, Fightbook MMA. Dakota Ditcheva is someone who put on a great performance at last year's championships. She's in the semifinals of the PFL Europe Women's Flyweight Division. Would you create a women's flyweight division in PFL Global, given this next year?
Again, you know, that division is, we've discussed that, we've talked about it, and there's ongoing discussions about that division. I think it's a great division. Dakota being, you know, a legitimate force in that division, especially the way she looked in the last fight. She looked amazing. So, yeah, it's still in discussions, but it's not confirmed yet.
Awesome, thank you.
Ray, congrats on another great night of fights
Thank you.
tonight. One thing I realized about the PFL is you guys sell this place out every time you come. Is the PFL content with these types of venues right now, or are you guys looking to get bigger as the promotion grows?
Yeah, I think the second part of your question is probably where it's at. You know, obviously we're going to continue to grow, and once it gets these places gets a little bit smaller, then obviously we'll continue to, you know, move on to bigger locations and venues. But Madison Square Garden has been great to us, and so we love coming back here.
Thank you.
Hey, Ray. Dan Hardy's expressed some interest in getting back inside the cage and compete. competing. What are your thoughts on the outlaw in the PFL Smart Cage?
I don't know. That's the first time I've heard of this. I don't even know how long he's been out of the cage.
About 10 years, maybe.
Yeah, that might be too long. That being said, I mean, he could do some of these. What's the word? I don't want to say gimmick, but
the influencer,
like
boxing,
kind of
right?
like a boxing match.
Sure.
Like the showcase boxing fight. I think he'll be good at that. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Real. Yeah, right. When will we see the PFL in Brazil?
That's a good question. The funny thing, it's funny you asked it because there were a few things in the works for the championship. Unfortunately, that didn't, pan out, but that's still in the works. So don't be surprised if we come to Brazil in 2024.
Anyone else? Speak now. All
Ray,
right.
what would I saw you were in that Nathan Levy video that came out today. Were you a bit concerned that he was going to maybe go too far with that fella? Nathan.
The Jewish, the guy that's trolling.
I saw you were like, you got to sign that waiver.
Yeah, exactly. So these guys, I mean, I don't know what goes through these guys' mind. I mean, they must think fighting is like, and I don't want to put down pro wrestling because that's also real, but in terms of throwing real punches and knocking people out, I have no idea why these guys want to, try their luck. It's like, go into a gym first, have some like light sparring matches and see if you really want to try it, right? Because luckily, Natan took it lightly on him, and then there was another guy that came in there, and he said, okay, you know what, I want to do this also, but no kicks. I'm like, you guys are crazy. Stick to reporting or to YouTube channels or whatever. Don't try fighting unless you're for real. Go ahead.
You train a lot at Extreme Couture. There's a lot of rising talent out from there. Are there any names that you see that might be going into the PFL anytime soon?
Any names? I think right now we have a lot of young and up and coming guys, but most of our pros are pretty much contracted either to the UFC, PFL, or Bellator.
Want to get your thoughts on the K-1 reboot. Any thoughts on that?
I think it's great, but I don't think they should have called it. I don't think they should have called it
K-1 Rebirth,
Reborn, or Reboot, or whatever it is. Because if you say that, then you started off where it was left off, right? At that level. Well, from what I understand, they're taking guys from ground zero, and so that's got to take a while to rebuild, right? So, but I'm glad it's it's back and up and moving again. So again, it gives fighters another opportunity to continue to fight.
Do they still owe you money, Ray Sefo? Or
That is true. That is true. Yes, they do.
Oh dear. All good, guys?
All good.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.